All right, welcome all you tone chasers out there in YouTube land. So today we're going to be exploring some different cab miking techniques. Maybe you're new to recording. Maybe you've been using IR cabs and or amp simulators for some time now. And you're maybe moving on to real amps and real cabs. Or maybe you have all this gear and somebody has approached you that or a friend or whatever and asked you to record them. Regardless of the situation, we will be looking into some engineering tips, tricks, and techniques to help you get that tone that you're after. All right, so the first tip that we have for everyone out there is trust your ears.
You gotta trust these bad boys.
If it sounds good,
it is good.
It is good. A fast and effective way, however, to quickly get the recorded signal to sound good is to match the original source, in this case the cab, to the actual signal that's coming out of your studio monitors.
Or headphones.
Or
if you're using headphones, yep.
This brings us to tip 2. Take the time to move back and forth between the two sources, i.e. your studio monitors and the sound that's actually coming out of the guitar cab itself. Tip 3. When recording in the same room as your cab, all the same principles of the previous tips still apply. There's just the added factor of recording a 5 to 10 second snippet of the actual cab and then listening back on your studio monitors. So it will take a little bit more time than having it in a different room and being able to walk back and forth between the two sources, but it's still attainable. The same goal is still attainable. Like I said, it just takes more time. However, our recommendation is do a 5 to 10 second recording, stop, listen to the studio monitors, and then go back and forth between the cab and the room and what the monitors are telling you, and keep sweeping with your microphone until you find that same sweet spot. And there you go. Tip 4. So everything we've talked about is how to get a fast and accurate snapshot of yours or someone else's gear in its natural state. But what if it's not the sound that you're after?
So it goes without saying that you don't have to follow the natural approach above. There are hundreds of different tonal possibilities when miking a cab, even if you only have one mic and let's say a 1x12.
So if you only had a 1x12 and the one mic, there are so many different ways that you can change the sound just with that. One would be to creatively match your guitar's tone to a popular song that you're after. So you could take your favorite artist and or your favorite artist's song, or for your client that matter, or your friend that you're recording, you could take a song and sound that they're after, and use the same exact principles that we just showcased for getting the natural sound. But instead of going back and forth listening to the natural sound of the cab to what's coming out of your studio monitors, now you're just going to be sweeping with the microphone and using the sound coming out of your recorded monitors to get that to match to the reference track that you're playing, either through MP3 or
Right.
Spotify, iTunes, whatever your choice is, whatever your poison is, so to speak.
Poison.
Tip 5, blending in 2 or more microphones. With your second microphone, we'll start there, you're going to go through the same exact procedures that we already talked about above with our other tips. And you're going to get the second microphone set up and sounding natural in the room to the source. Once you've done that, you're then going to have to go into your DAW and check for phase alignment. If they are aligned, great, your work is done. If they are not aligned, there are a couple different ways that you can fix this problem. One, you can go in and use a plugin, or you can use on your interface itself. There should be
mixer. Yep.
a built-in switch in the software, or an actual hard button that you would press, or on your mixing board if that's what you happen to be using. And you're going to press that polarity switch and try flipping the polarity, and then see what happens. If that corrects the problem, then you're good to go. Another thing that you might have to do, though, however, is manually adjust and move the microphones to manually adjust the phase. More often than not, I feel like this
Yeah.
is probably what you're going to have to do if you have micro little, shifts in phase alignment. It's not a big deal. A lot of times this comes from the differences in the capsules because, if you look at all the different types of microphones and the different bodies of the microphones, the capsules are set back closer or farther within the body of the microphone, and this is going to create some type of phase alignment issue, or could create a phase alignment issue. So simply moving the microphones back and forth just by a little bit, you can get, meticulously get them exactly 100% on if that's what you're after. I'd say you don't necessarily have to get them dead on. Don't feel like you need to get them 100%, but
you'll hear the difference. When it's out of phase, it's more thin. When it's in phase, it just feels more full-bodied.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
And with that being said, I want to take a quick moment to give a very, very vague and brief overview of what the phase is. So the microphones capture sound in a positive or negative impulse or capture of the electricity that's going through. You have your positive and your negative lead.
Yep.
Okay. And the way sound works, as I'm talking to you right now, the sound is coming out of my mouth. It's moving the air molecules in front of me until it hits the microphone. And that goes in a cycle. Right? It's like a 360 cycle, and that's where you get your hertz from. And in that cycle, there's a positive and there's a negative as the circles just keep going. In your DAW, you're going to see it like this. You're just going to see a line that's going up and down. And that's it in its most basic form if you take a sine wave and you're just doing, let's say, 80 hertz. Okay? And you'll see it going up and down in its cycle. So if they're in phase, they're both going to go up together and down together. If they're out of phase, one is going to be on its positive going up and one's going to be on its negative going down. And just like this is how noise canceling headphones work, when one's at its positive and one's at its negative, the sounds will cancel out. So in our mixes, what does that mean when we're recording? It means that we're going to get a thin sound, and it's going to be canceling out certain frequencies within our capture of the source. So that's why it's important to take the time to move around and get your phases aligned so that you're not having any tones actually cancel out in your recording. All right, so the last thing that we want to leave everyone with is to remember that these are raw tones. These recorder tracks are not processed yet. And there's still a multitude of tonal possibilities left in the post-processing world or stage. Always remember that you are in the initial recording phase, and to try to stop yourself from immediately reaching for a plugin when you're sweeping to find your tones. It's very easy to think that you hear something that you don't want to be in the final recording, and that's understandable. But instead of trying to reach for the plugin and pull that particular frequency out, just start by moving your microphone around a little bit, and just moving the microphone sometimes a centimeter, half a centimeter, can take out a lot of unwanted tones by just that little movement.
Get it right at the source.
Exactly, getting it right at the source. And by adding those plugins, all you're doing is adding another degree of artifacts into the recording. Every single time that we add something new into the recording signal, we are ultimately changing its sound. And that can be a very good thing for creative possibilities, but it can also be very frustrating and hard to replicate certain sources if you're always manipulating plugins instead of finding the correct positionings of the microphones and balances and levels first.
Right. And to clarify further on that, using plugins, it's not a bad thing at all. However, the maximum results in finding a great tone within your microphones, we recommend, getting it right at the source. Go move the microphone around. If you're hearing a certain frequency that's just really jumping out, get it done at the source. I can't stress that enough. Get it done at the source. Wait for tweaking, the EQ knobs on a mixing board if you have one, or, within a plugin, like we've been saying, wait till you get the sound that you want before going any further or adding compression or, anything like that. So,
yep. Like I said, just to reiterate, we're in the recording phase right now. We're not in the post-production phase. So getting that original audio source correctly the first time around is paramount. Once you have done this for years, or once you have recorded your own cab so many times that you just know its sound and you know exactly what you want to cut out, then you might want to jump in and use that analog mic pre that has EQs on it, or
Right.
the digital mixer board, something like that. And then at that point you can take those frequencies out right from the source, right from the get-go, and save yourself the hassle later. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But when you're first starting and you're first learning how to do this, learning how to manipulate the microphones around the cab and learning what all the different degrees of movement actually do and how they can take these frequencies in or out for you is a huge
It's a huge help.
and a huge part of the overall process of getting a
Right.
good tone.
I agree.
But, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do us a favor and subscribe, like, comment, share. And as always, you've been great. We've been Pennyfire Records. Until next time.